Well, we're a little bit surprised you're even here today because we know all the news is being made on the other side as they wrestle with how they're going to put together this reckless tax and spending bill. It's important to note that the American people are mostly fixated on inflation. We have the raging inflation, as bad, some would argue, as back in the late 70s, early 80s. Gas prices are over $3 a gallon in every state in the Union. There's no relief in sight. It's a direct result of flooding the country with money. The American Rescue Plan, as Larry Summers predicted, produced raging inflation. And it's been interesting to watch the back and forth between Larry Summers and Janet Yellen over the cause of inflation. Larry Summers strikes me as the one truth-telling Democrat left in Washington.
Well, you're going to hear and have heard already a lot of Republicans talking about increases in energy prices, and that is only the increase that we're starting to see in energy prices this year is only going to be worsened by the Democrats' reckless tax and spending spree. The president wants a deal on some so-called Green New Deal before he goes to Glasgow, Scotland, and I think the only thing the American people are worried about is not what's happening in Glasgow, but what's happening to gas prices. If you look at heating fuel, if you look at just filling up your vehicle at the pump, cooking, anything like that, energy prices are starting to go through the roof. The expectation, prediction is in my state of South Dakota that this year we're going to see energy prices for home heating go up anywhere from 50 to 100%. And so the president's obsession and preoccupation with going and schmoozing with people in Glasgow, Scotland to talk about Green New Deal is, I think, completely lost on the American people who are caring a lot more about the prices that they're paying to heat their homes. It is, I think, remarkable that the president finds time to go to Glasgow when he can't find time to go to the border. So we have a historic number of people coming across the border. In fact, at the end of this calendar year, the prediction is have been 2 million people will have come across the border illegally this year. Biggest number ever in history, and fewest number of people being apprehended and caught illegally at the border. So I guess what I would say to the administration is it's not enough to go to Glasgow, Scotland. I think it's important to go to the border. And having a round table 1,000 miles away isn't going to cut it. You need to get down there, see the conditions that our border agents are dealing with, and understand the sense of urgency that surrounds what's happening at our border, the humanitarian and national security crisis it has become due to their bad policies.
The American people have seen through President Biden's big lie. He was in Pennsylvania the other day, and he talked about the $3.5 trillion tax and spending spree. And he said the cost was 0, 0, 0. He actually said it 3 times. I would say, Mr. President, if the cost is 0, why are you having such a hard time getting people to vote for it? And a national poll has now shown that 64% of voters believe the president is actually not being truthful with them. It's conservatives, it's liberals, it's folks in the middle. Across the board, the people do not believe the President of the United States because they know the costs are real. The costs are real in terms of higher taxes, which will hit everyone in America. Taxes, you're going to see more debt, which is going to undermine Social Security and Medicare. And of course, we're going to see higher prices, which people are getting hit with inflation, whether you buy gas or groceries, whether you want to heat your home or just pay for your housing, prices have gone up across the board significantly. So one of the things the president also said is, well, let's not talk about the numbers. But if you're a family trying to get by, you're someone living on a fixed income, you're a senior, the thing that you're talking about at the kitchen table are the numbers. The President talked about it during the presidential debate last time. He said, what happens at the kitchen table? Well, I'll tell you, Mr. President, what's happening at the kitchen table is people are not happy. They're falling behind in the Biden economy because of the way and the decisions that you're making. People are fed up, and they're fed up with being lied to. The best thing for this country would be an entire $3.5 trillion bill never becoming law.
Well, one of the ways that Democrats want to pay for this spending bill is to put more money at the IRS to collect more money from American families. You know, there's always been a effort to find out where there might be wrongdoing, sort of a dragnet through the banking process to find out if there's a transaction of $10,000 or more. This time, the Democrats started out saying, well, we really think we ought to know about every transaction that was $600 or more. There was a pretty big pushback on that. So the latest version of this was, well, we want to check every account, every bank account, every credit union account, every PayPal account, every Venmo account that has a total annually of $10,000 of activity. So $10,000 of activity is every person that makes $834 a month and puts it in the bank, or every person that spends $27.42 a day through their bank account. Those are the accounts that would be reported to the IRS, that you should look at these accounts because here's how much money came in and here's how much money went out. Not in one transaction, but over 12 months.
It has been nearly 2 months now since President Biden's disastrous and haphazard withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was on August 26th that we lost 13 wonderful, honorable American service members in the attack at Kabul. This morning in the Senate Armed Services Committee, we had the Undersecretary for Policy from the Department of Defense in front of us. And what became abundantly clear through this committee hearing was that, one, President Biden has no viable plan for defeating terrorists that are in Afghanistan right now and plotting to exact revenge upon our homeland. The second is that through this haphazard plan, we have left Americans behind at the hands of the Taliban. And so moving forward, Americans want to know why what happened, how it happened, and even though the Biden administration wants to close the book on this horrible chapter, Americans are demanding answers, and Republicans are seeking answers. We want to know why this happened, how it happened, and how we are going to protect our homeland in the future. So President Biden, again, this is all on your shoulders, and we are going to get to the bottom of this.
In Florida, what people are talking about is the unbelievable inflation, whether it's going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, or looking at their air conditioning costs, not heating costs, but air conditioning costs down there. Everything's up. They also see this unbelievable supply chain problem. They also watch that we're going to get close to 2 million people at least to come across the border illegally this year. And what they expect is they expect Biden and the Democrats to come up with a solution. They control the House, the White House, and the Senate, but they hear nothing. Well, what they see is with all this inflation, wouldn't people stop spending money? The Democrats want to continue to spend money. But as part of that, the Democrats keep saying, oh, well, we're going to raise taxes on the rich. But if you look at what they're making sure is in this reconciliation bill is a tax deduction for salt that only impacts wealthy individuals in blue states, which means people in red states have to pay for that. So I'm going to continue to fight that. I think we're all going to continue to fight that. It's unfair to Americans around the country that don't live in states with high taxes.
Leader McConnell.
Yeah, Chad.
Aren't you concerned about some of this opposition, some of these tax increases, but specifically the tax on the wealthy here that they are talking about now, that your side is going to be perceived by some voters as saying, oh, it's okay if the wealthy don't pay their taxes, it's okay if they don't get taxed? Aren't you afraid that you're going to be painted into the corner that way?
Well, the larger issue is whether the country needs a big tax increase. Just to take you back to 2017, we lowered taxes for virtually all Americans. The corporate tax reduction produced a gusher of revenue, a stunning amount of increase in revenue as a result of lowering the taxes on corporations. Look, the country's awash in inflation. The country's flooded with money. The last thing we need to do is to pile on with another massive, reckless tax and spending spree. With regard to various pieces of it, we don't know what it's going to look like, which leads me to the second point. They do not have a mandate to do this. They're acting like this was the New Deal. Roosevelt had massive majorities, or it's the Great Society. LBJ had massive majorities. This is a 50-50 Senate, a 3-seat majority in the House. The American people are not asking for any of this.
Joe Biden said last week that he's now open to fundamentally altering the filibuster, and he suggested the debt ceiling could be the issue that pushes Democrats to do that. What is your reaction to that?
Well, that's a decision to be made by senators, and Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have both been quite clear they're not in favor of altering the filibuster rule.
Leader McConnell, you said that the country is flooded with money. Who do you believe has too much money? Who do you believe has too much money? That the country is flooded with money?
Yeah, let me just quote Larry Summers, who said back in February that the American Rescue Plan was a mistake. He said it would cause rampant inflation. It has, and I would call your attention to the debate between Yellen and Summers just this week on this very issue. So I agree with Larry Summers. I think this has created exactly what he predicted, massive inflation affecting all levels of American families.